8-year-old Emily stood in front of her class, holding a photo of her father she treasured more than anything, a U.S. Marine she hadn't seen in months. Her tiny hands trembled, her eyes glistening with pride. She smiled shyly, ready to tell her classmates why he was her hero, until her teacher leaned forward with a cold smile. This is who you're proud of. A cheap Marine who abandoned you." The room fell silent. Kids snickered. Emily froze, hurt, embarrassed, her heart cracking in front of everyone. But what the teacher didn't know. At that exact moment, a shadow stepped into the doorway. Combat boots, uniform, a scar along the jaw, and beside him a massive military canine. Growling low, the entire room went silent. The teacher's face drained of color. Emily's dad had returned, because Emily's cheap Marine had just walked in. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. 8-year-old Emily stood at the front of the classroom, clutching the photo of her father so tightly her small fingers trembled. It was Family Hero Day, and every student had been asked to share someone they admired. Emily had waited all week for this moment. Her pink dress, her neatly braided hair, and the bright smile she arrived with, all of it showed how proud she was. "My hero is my dad," she began softly. "He's a Marine. He helps people. He protects." Before she could finish, Ms. Carter let out a sharp, exaggerated sigh. "A Marine?" she said loudly, raising her eyebrows. "Emily, sweetheart, we said heroes, not people who take dangerous jobs because they don't have better options." The room went silent. Several kids snickered. One boy whispered, "Cheap Marine," and others laughed harder. Emily blinked fast, her eyes filling with tears. She hugged the photo closer to her chest, trying to stay strong, trying not to cry in front of everyone. Ms. Carter walked toward her, arms crossed, voice cold. "Emily, maybe you should choose someone more inspiring next time. Someone with a real career. Not someone who ran away from responsibilities." The words slammed into Emily like a punch. Her throat tightened. "He didn't run away," she whispered shakily. "He's serving our country." Ms. Carter chuckled under her breath. "Sit down, please. We don't need a speech." The class burst into quiet laughter as Emily returned to her seat. Cheeks wet, her pride shattered in front of everyone. Emily sat silently at her desk, wiping her cheeks with the back of her trembling hand. She kept the photo of her father close, hiding it against her lap so no one else could laugh. The classroom buzzed with whispers, but Ms. Carter ignored all of it as she returned to the front of the room. "Class," she announced sharply, "let's move on to real examples of success. People who actually contribute to society." Her eyes flicked toward Emily, cold and dismissive. A boy in the back raised his hand timidly. "But, Miss Carter, Marines do help people." The teacher's smile tightened. "Jason, please don't repeat everything you see in movies. There are better, safer careers. Careers that require real education." Emily's stomach twisted as a new wave of embarrassment washed over her. She stared down at her shoes, willing herself not to cry again. "My dad saves lives," she whispered, almost to herself. Ms. Carter snapped her head around. "What was that, Emily?" Emily hesitated. I said, "My dad is a hero." The teacher slammed her hand on the desk, startling the entire room. "Enough. Your father is nothing special. Stop seeking attention." A gasp spread across the class, and Emily's heart broke a little more. The classroom sat in tense silence after Miss Carter's outburst. Emily stared at her desk, blinking rapidly to keep more tears from falling. No one dared to speak. Even the students who had laughed earlier now shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Then, a deep echo of heavy footsteps sounded in the hallway. Slow, steady, powerful. Every head turned toward the door. As the footsteps drew closer, the doorknob clicked, and the door swung open. A tall figure stepped inside. It was a U.S. Marine in full Marpat uniform. Boots dusty, posture strong, eyes sharp. And walking beside him was a massive German Shepherd K9. Muscles tense, ears alert, tail low with disciplined focus. Gasps rippled across the classroom. Emily's breath caught in her throat. She recognized that silhouette instantly. "Daddy?" she whispered. Staff Sergeant Cole Harris scanned the room slowly, his gaze landing on the frightened look on his daughter's face. His jaw tightened. Ranger, the canine, lowered his head and let out a soft, protective growl as if sensing the tension in the air. Ms. Carter paled, frozen in place. "Ah, sir. This is a classroom. You can't just—" Cole ignored her, taking one step forward. "Emily," he said gently, "why were you crying?" The room held its breath, Ranger's intense eyes fixed on Miss Carter, and for the first time all day, the teacher had nothing to say. Cole stepped fully into the classroom, his boots thudding softly against the floor. Ranger stayed close, his body tense, eyes locked on Miss Carter, as if he already understood who had hurt Emily. The students sat frozen, breathless with anticipation. Ms. Carter forced a shaky smile. "Sergeant, I'm sure there's been a misunderstanding. Emily is a sensitive child. Stop." Cole's voice was calm, but there was something in it that made the entire room straighten. "My daughter does not cry for no reason. Who spoke to her?" No one moved. Ranger let out a deep, rumbling growl and took one step forward. Miss Carter flinched. A girl raised her hand hesitantly. It was her. Miss Carter called her dad nothing special. Another boy chimed in, anger rising in his voice. She laughed at Marines. She said Emily's dad took a job for people who couldn't do better. A wave of whispers erupted. Miss Carter's face flushed red. "Kids exaggerate. I simply encouraged them to aim higher." Cole's eyes never left her. "Higher than service. Higher than risking your life so children can sit safely in a classroom." The teacher swallowed hard, unable to respond. Cole crouched beside Emily, wiping a tear from her cheek. Ranger gently nudged her shoulder, offering comfort. Cole rose again, towering, his voice steady. "You humiliated my daughter for being proud of me. And that ends today." The room fell utterly silent. Emily slowly stood from her desk, her legs shaking slightly as she walked toward her father. Cole opened his arms, and she rushed into them, burying her face against his uniform. He held her tightly, his hand resting protectively on her back. Ranger leaned in, nudging Emily's arm with his nose, offering gentle reassurance in the way only a loyal K9 could. "I'm sorry," Emily whispered, voice trembling. "I didn't mean to make trouble." Cole lifted her chin softly. "Hey," he murmured, "you did nothing wrong. You were brave, proud. That's what matters." Her eyes glistened. "But she said you weren't a hero." Cole smiled gently, brushing a tear from her cheek. "A hero isn't someone people talk about, sweetheart. A hero is someone who protects others quietly, even when no one sees." The class watched the emotional moment unfold, their earlier laughter replaced with admiration and guilt. Even the kids who had mocked Emily now lowered their eyes. Ashamed of their part, Ranger positioned himself in front of Emily, standing guard as if she were the most important person in the world. Cole placed a hand on the dog's head. "You're never alone," he told his daughter softly. "Not with me. Not with Ranger." Before Miss Carter could recover, the classroom door opened again. The school principal stepped inside, his expression stern. "I received multiple complaints from students," he announced, scanning the room. "Is there a problem here?" Several children immediately pointed at Miss Carter. The teacher's face went pale. Cole stood straight but calm. "Your teacher humiliated my daughter for being proud of me. She mocked military service in front of the entire class." The principal's jaw tightened. "Miss Carter, step outside, now." She opened her mouth to defend herself, but the principal's tone left no room for argument. She exited stiffly, knowing exactly what awaited her. Turning back to Cole, the principal softened. "Would you speak to the class? They could learn a lot from someone like you." Cole nodded. Ranger settled beside him as he addressed the children. "Being a Marine isn't about glory. It's about service, helping people you'll never meet, protecting those who can't protect themselves." The students listened with awe, hanging on to every word. Emily watched her father proudly, her heart swelling. When he finished, she reached down to hold Ranger's collar. The dog leaned gently against her. In that moment, everyone understood. Respect isn't given, it's earned. And today, they learned its true meaning.